Hey everybody, welcome to Good News in the Neighborhood. We're glad that you're here. We've got a new section of a series that we've been in all fall called He's Making Lemonade today. I hope by faith that you're going to get something great out of this message. The message is called How to Be Unlikable in 4 Easy Steps. We're going to do a little bit of worship and then we're going to get to it, but it'd be great if right now if you came today prepared to give, you can give it the link in the chat. If you came today and you're like, man, I don't know, I'd like to check out this church and what it's about, you could fill out an I'm new card. The information is also there. Just allows us to minister to you in a good way and in a fresh way. We'd love for you to do those things. We're going to do a little bit of singing, and then we're going to get to the sermon. See you in a sec.
Let's go! Wherever you are, wherever you're watching from, people all over the world, lift your voice. We're here to celebrate one name that's above every other name, and that name is Jesus. Come on, everybody, lift it up. Every praise, yeah. Every word of worship, yeah. Every praise, every praise is to who? It's to our God. Yes, so we sing together. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah. Yes. Every
I just pray that needs hope.
And thank you. Hey, everybody. We are back for He's Making Lemonade. This is part 7, and we're taking a shift. This series is about the story of Ruth, which we've covered, now to the story of Joseph. And I want to tell you today the beginning of the story of Joseph under this heading, How to Be Unlikable in 4 Easy Steps. How to be unlikable in 4 easy steps. We're in the book of Genesis. You can turn there if you have a Bible in chapter 37. And this is the story of the book of Genesis. It goes from Adam to Noah to Abraham, and then it's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and now Joseph, who is the great-grandson of Abraham. The story is kind of turned to him. And so we see in Genesis chapter 37 and verse 1, it says that Jacob lived in the land of his father's sojournings, in the land of Canaan. And these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought a bad report of them to their father. What's happening here? What we're going to see in this story is this idea of generational sin and generational consequence and generational struggle. So the story says that, so there was Abraham, and God called him out from a land where he didn't know where he was going, and he called him out of Israel, out to kind of walk, to sojourn, as this text says. And it says that Jacob, by the time he has grown up, he's back where his grandfather started. He's in the land of Canaan. It's reminding us that they live in a story. They live in a kind of family history. And now Joseph was 17 years old. Jacob had 2 wives, if you remember, sisters, Rachel and Leah. And they were in kind of like an arms race of who could have the most children. So he also had 2 women, concubines, basically women who he slept with in order to try to produce children. And it says that Joseph was 17 years old. He was the oldest of Jacob's favorite wife, Leah. We're about to see that he was the favorite child. And Joseph was, it says he was a boy in the fields with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, so the younger kind of crew of Jacob's sons. And Joseph brought a bad report to their father. They're saying here Joseph was a tattletale. Joseph was when someone does the wrong thing, I got to tell everybody else about it. And there's this impulse in the heart of many religious type people. There's an impulse in the heart of many people who are trying hard to do the right things, to point out people who are doing the wrong things. And Joseph, by the end of this story, is very, very unlikable. And his unlikableness starts with this decision to be a tattletale. Let me just read a little bit more. Now it says, now Israel, which is another name for Jacob. Now Jacob loved Joseph more than any other of his sons, because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a robe of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not even speak peacefully to him. Jacob played favorites, and it caused problems. And the crazy part is that if you know the story of Jacob and Joseph, you probably also know the story of Isaac and Jacob. Jacob was a son who was desperately hurt by a father who played favorites, and he turned around and did it again anyway. One of the tasks of growing into adulthood is starting to understand and accept and deal with the fact that more than we often want to admit, we hate and then take on the negative characteristics of the generations before us that they passed down to it. The story starts out by saying Jacob was back where his father lived, doing the things his father did, eating the stuff he ate, smelling like he smelled. He decided foolishly to treat his son Joseph like a favorite, even though he had been desperately hurt by a father who treated his brother Esau as a favorite. It's amazing how often we repeat the mistakes of the people before us. I heard a pastor that I respect, Keon Henderson, say, "You are born looking like your parents, but you die looking like your decisions." You're born looking like your parents, but you die looking like your decisions. The point being, no matter what your parents gave to you, no matter what bad habits they kind of put into your bloodstream and put into your way of thinking, you don't have to be subject to them. You don't have to live the way they lived. So Jacob makes this mistake, and it makes his son hateable. It's the 4 steps to being unlikable. First one is observe mistakes and then redo them. Watch people drink too much and it ruined their life, then do it anyway. Watch people cheat to get ahead. Watch people worship their sexuality. Watch people worship their children's sports and grow up miserable. Do these things that you know are foolish, and then do them anyway. We live in a world that sees this pattern over and over and over and over and over. And if you want to be unlikable, and if you want people around you to be unlikable, if you want your life to go a bad direction, make sure to watch the mistakes that people make that hurt you, and then make the same mistakes. A simpler way of saying that maybe is the second way, how to be unlikable in 4 easy steps. Play favorites and show it. Play favorites and show it. Jacob knew the pain that a parent having favorites could bring, yet he still had a favorite wife that caused such heartache for his other wives, and a favorite son that caused such heartache for his other son. It says in the text that Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he was at the age where he could really appreciate him. And it says that he gave him a gift. And this gift was significant because it made it clear that he was number one. We live in a culture that worships children and then are amazed that they act like they think they're God. Let me say it this way. If you treat your kids like they're more important than God, they're going to grow up and believe you. We wonder why people are so selfish and self-absorbed and self-indulgent and so self-focused and so unwilling to help or serve. Maybe it's because they grew up with parents who treated them like they were the only thing in the world. When Jacob gave this coat of many colors to Joseph, when Jacob showed his brothers that he loved one brother more than the rest, he was mailing a grenade to his family that who knew what day it was going to show up and explode. But Joseph is not exactly innocent either. The first 2 things, how to be unlikable, are things that Jacob did to Joseph. The second 2 things are things Joseph did to himself. Let me continue reading in the story now. Joseph had a dream. And when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. In fact, he said to them, "Hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and my sheaf arose and stood upright, and your sheaves gathered around it and started bowing down." His brothers said to him, "Are you indeed to reign over us? Are you indeed to rule over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. So here we're going to start to conflate in this story over and over literal dreams and metaphorical dreams. So not just the things that happen in your mind while you're sleeping, but also desires that you have for your life. They start to overlap here. And Joseph has a dream where all the brothers are working in the field, and the thing he was working on stood up straight, and all of theirs bowed down. And Joseph, at this young age, he's about 17 years old, we think, had such incredible pride that knowing his brothers were sensitive about the fact that he was the favorite, he thought, "Oh, I'll just go tell them the story about how they all bowed down to me." That's Joseph's voice. That was Joseph's voice. Somehow not being able to forecast that they were not going to like hearing this story, that it was going to cause problems. And I think it raises one of the ways to be unlikable, if you're being honest, is to have really big dreams and then share them. We need to be really careful, dear friends, about who we tell the deep, important things that God has placed in our life and in our heart. In the book of John, in a verse I want to throw on the screen for you now, it says that Jesus did not entrust himself to man, for he knew what was in the heart of man. Well, what does that mean? It means that if you tell the wrong person the path you're trying to go down, if you tell the wrong person a passion that God has given to you, they're likely to deter you from pursuing it, to hate you for your special calling, to mock you in the small days of pursuing a dream, to betray and poison your progress. Sadly, Rather than the brothers saying, wow, Joseph, if you grew up to be someone that we were all bowing down to, something amazing must have happened in your life. They heard his dream, thought about what that would mean for them, and said, you, Joseph, your dreams? What you're going to reign over us? It says, do you see it? They hated him even more for his dreams and his words. We live in a day of hatred. Hatred from the right to the left and from the left to the right. Hatred from male to female and female to male. Hatred from white to black and black to Asian and Asian to Hispanic and Hispanic back to white and all kinds of different circles and dimensions. We live in an age of hatred between people. And one of the reasons is because we also live in the age of self-disclosure. And frankly, most people are not going to be able to hear your deepest ideas, thoughts, dreams, and desires without subtly or aggressively starting to hate you for them. You need to be very careful who you tell the dreams of your heart, because one of the easiest ways to be unlikable is to have dreams and to share them. And then last, verse 9, look with me. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, behold, I've dreamed another dream. Like he didn't figure it out by now. Behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you? And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept this saying in mind. Joseph comes back and he says, I had another dream. I had another dream. I had another dream. You're not going to believe it. And they're all like, dude, are you serious? And his dream is that the sun and the moon, remember, they live in a day without man-made stuff like we have now. So the sun and the moon are the most important things in the life of a person in this day and time. The sun and the moon and the stars all bowed down. He was so braggadocious, so filled with certainty, so filled with pride, so frankly tone deaf to the way that his words made people feel that even his father was like, I mean, your brothers is one thing. You think your mom and I are going to be bowing down and worshiping you, Joseph? If you want to be unlikable, a fourth part is to keep dreaming and brag about it. If you want to foment dislike and hatred in people around you, speak loud about what you want to do and be real braggy about it. Now, here's the crazy thing. If you know much about the story of Joseph at all, what he was saying he dreamed would happen would eventually happen. It's just that he was not yet a person ready to handle what God wanted to happen. And he was foolish in predicting what God probably just put in his heart to be exciting. Was what he was dreaming about going to happen? Oh, yeah. But not until God beat the pride out of him. You see, I wonder if you could ask yourself this question. What does God want to do that hasn't happened yet because he knows, because you're showing him that you can't handle it? You say, God, I'm just praying that you would bring a woman along that could be my wife, but yet you're looking at what on your computer late at night? You're saying, Lord, I'm just dreaming. Could you send that Prince Charming, that man that I've been wanting, Lord, my way? But yet, you do what? Relationally to the people that you already have in your life? You say, Lord, I want so bad to have a baby. Yet you give God no time now and you think, well, I'll give God time when I have a baby. You say, Lord, would you bless my business? Yet what are you giving to the church from what he's given you in your business now? You see, we have this tendency to think that if I get more, then I'll be different. But no, more just makes you more of who you already are. And if God had given Joseph what he dreamed about as a young man, if God had given it to him as a young man, it would have ruined him. No, God is going to take Joseph on a long journey of having the junk beat out of him so that when he finally arrives at the palace, he is ready to use the palace for the glory of God, not for the glory of Joseph. And I wonder, what does God want to do in you that hasn't happened yet because you are showing him that you can't handle it? The story of Joseph is maybe the most vivid picture we have in all of the Bible of this phenomenon, that between promise and payoff is process. It's this nasty thing in the middle. We love the parts of the story, right? What? We love the first episode of the show and we love the last episode. We love seeing the characters and how things get going. We love the God says it's going to happen. You know what we don't love so much is we don't love all the middle time before it actually comes true. But this is the way that God often works. Most of life is process. Between your dreams and your destiny, between wanting something to happen and it happening, between dreams and destiny is duty. Between promise and payoff is process. Between it will and it has is usually it hurts. God gives us these desires for things that we want to see happen. But usually the thing that we want to see happen is something that God puts in us so that he can go about the process of what he's really interested in doing in us. Here's what I mean. God is way more interested in what he is doing in you than what he is doing through you. God cares more about development of character, development of trust, development of faith. God cares more about teaching you through adversity. God doesn't need you to win the Powerball, to have the perfect marriage, to build the greatest company, to write a hit song. God doesn't need any of those things to happen for him to accomplish his purposes in the world. He allows them, but what God is interested in doing is forming us. And how are we best formed? We're best formed through pain. We're best formed through waiting. We're best formed through the frustration of the process between his promise and his payoff. And so Joseph starts out the story as this incredibly unlikable, brash, let me tell you about my dreams while I'm wearing my coat that dad gave me. He's like the worst bougie, self-impressed young person that you could possibly imagine. And God is going to send him, and we're going to see it week by week by week as we go, on a journey of being broken down and put back together, not because God was mad at him, but because God was preparing him. And we've hit this theme over and over and over because I really believe that it's so key to understanding the life that God wants us to live. And let me say it one more time, and then we'll be done. Because God is more interested in who you are than what you do. He spends much more time with us in process than in payoff. And so we must be willing to day by day by day by day, trust again, follow again, work again, go forward again, knowing that when God has our hearts, he'll do great things through our hands. And so don't get stuck. Keep on going, believing by faith that God wants to keep working, even if you can't see what he's doing yet. Thanks for watching today. This is good news.